road less traveled with your hosts, Bryan Carlin and Paul Honor.
Hey, welcome to Road Less Traveled, episode 74. We're super excited to be here tonight. We are here with author Percy White of the book Unshaken Faith, and we're in for a really good chat about his journey and his family's journey through some difficult topics that we're going to discuss tonight. Bryan, how you doing tonight, brother?
Pretty good. Excited about tonight.
I am too. We had our giveaway. We reached our 100th subscriber on YouTube. So congratulations to Steve McGowan of Weapons of God. The book's in the mail if you haven't got it already. We gave away a book by Pastor Greg Laurie about the faith of some well-known musicians and some people you might know like Bob Dylan and John Lennon and Alice Cooper. So the faith or the almost faith thereof, depending on who they are. So excited that went out. We'll be doing some more giveaways in the future. If you have any ideas of stuff that you'd like to see us give away, maybe some coffee mugs, maybe some koozies, coolers.
We'll show that again.
Yep. And some T-shirts or whatever that we haven't had made yet. But we will be looking for more opportunities to give away more stuff.
I'd be willing to give away some of my band shirts. So like this would be an example of one. I can get it in there. We Are Resolute. This is my song, Battle Cry, and I put the lyrics of the song on the back so people can read it like I'm out in public and stuff like that. So,
excellent. So tonight we have Percy White, author of Unshaken Faith. Usually we deal with lighter topics than we're dealing with tonight, but Percy, I'm going to let you tell your story. But Percy and his wife, they went through some stuff that a lot of couples go through that probably remain silent about. Stuff that maybe the church isn't so sensitive to, especially on certain Hallmark holidays that come around throughout the year. So this is a topic that's touched my family at one point and touched Bryan. So Percy, why don't you tell us about yourself, tell us about your book, and then we'll talk about your faith journey and whatever else the Lord throws our way.
All right. Well, thank you for having me this evening. And of course, I am the author of the book, Unshaken, Holding On to Faith during the heartbreaking and difficult seasons of life. And the book touches on me and my wife's journey through infertility. And of course, I don't really want to, every time I do an interview, I talk about the fact that I don't really want the book to be about infertility, but about our faith as God has taken us down the road of infertility. We're still in a situation, in a place where we still don't have a child, but we got into a place where we're okay if we don't have one. But what I want to do is through this book is inspire and encourage people that are going through whatever situations that they may be going through in life. We use our story about infertility, but I want to be able to help somebody that's going through whatever difficult situation they may be going through in life. Their situation may be a health challenge. It may be the unexpected loss of a loved one. It may be the loss of a job or whatever. But I want people to understand that God is still faithful no matter the situation that you may be going through, because the thing about it is we were never promised an easy life, because, the word says, Jesus says that I come that you may have life. And in this life, you may have tribulation, but be of good cheer. I have overcome the world. So that's what I want to do through our book, is to encourage people that no matter what season of life that they may be in, that they know that it's not that God is withholding anything or God is punishing you for anything, but the fact that we do go through difficult things in life. But at the same time, if you hold on to your faith and trust in God, He will strengthen you through whatever situation you may be going through.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's a topic that touched my family when we first 5 years of our marriage. We were basically told that we would never have children,
Mm.
and so I know the struggle. I know the feelings of, and I'm sure you guys went through this, of one of you wanting to release the other one from the marriage so that they could go on and pursue that. And those are real conversations that couples have in this scenario.
Yeah.
And obviously it's the enemy's coming in, and the enemy
Mm-hmm.
coming in and putting those thoughts in there.
Yeah.
But talk about well, let's hear about how you came to the Lord in the first place, because that's the foundation. I understand that you had kind of a unique conversion story. So
I came to the Lord in 2003. In 2002, that was basically a breaking year for me. There was a lot of things going on personally that that just kind of was just bringing me to a crossroads. I lost a dear friend of mine from college during the late spring, early summer of 2002, and then I was in a relationship with somebody that was going nowhere. And then on top of that, I was not being fulfilled in the career that I was trying to get established. So there was a lot going on in my life personally, and I was feeling that there was something more to life than what I was experiencing at the time, but I didn't know what it was. And so towards the end of 2003, going into 2003, I felt a nudge to go to church that first Sunday of 2003. I didn't understand where that was coming from, but I decided I'm gonna go ahead and go to church. And so I get to church that Sunday morning. And, mind you, the church that I went to that Sunday morning, I had only been there once. So I get up extra early that morning so that I, can get to the church on time, just in case I forget how to get there or whatever. Yeah. But I had no problems getting there. And then the rest is history. After the service, I surrendered my heart to the Lord, and I've been following him ever since.
Cool.
So, what was before that? So you'd visited that church once. Did you grow up in church? Did you grow up around church or church adjacent? And what was the thing that made you think that church was the answer?
Well, when I was growing up, up until about the age of 12, we weren't really regular churchgoers. We would do the traditional thing, go to church on Mother's Day, Easter, sometimes Christmas and stuff. Then after about 12 or so, I didn't step foot into a church again till I was about 17. And what prompted me to go to church at 17 was in high school. It was about my junior year in high school. There was a gunman that came on campus at my school. And, during that whole chaos of everything going on, nobody really knowing what's happening except for the people in the room where the gunman was being held. They moved everybody into an auditorium, which, when I think back on it, was like, oh yeah, that made all the sense in the world, because if he was crazy, he had a room full of people that he could go and take out. But anyway, during that whole situation, I flippantly said, well, if I get out of this situation, I'm gonna be in church on Sunday. And my best friend at the time overheard me say that. So, fast forward to Sunday, I'm chilling at my house and everything, and I'm still in my pajamas. And he comes to the door. I hear the doorbell ringing. He's at the door. I open the door and say, "Hey, what's up?" He said, "You ready?" And I'm like, I'm ready for what? He said to go to church. And I'm like, I'm not going to church, man. What you talking about? He said, didn't I overhear you say that if we get out of this situation, that you'll be in church on Sunday? And he shamed me right there. I ain't had no time to come back or anything. So I'm like, okay, give me a few minutes. And I convinced my brother to go with me too. So we go to church and you know, it was cool and everything. And, you know, but then, I mean, I still wasn't a regular church goer at that time. I mean, I go to church here and there, somebody invited me. But, you know, I feel like when we get to 2003, I feel like, I'm getting all these urges. And when I look back on it now, it was like the Holy Spirit putting that desire in me to go to church. So I go to church that first Sunday in 2003, and I feel like, okay, it's time to surrender. And I surrender and give my life to the Lord when the call to salvation was made that Sunday morning. And, you know, like I said, the rest is history.
That's just so cool how God reaches out to us like the prodigal son.
Yeah.
That imagery of the father running to his son. That is so cool.
And it was, and when I look back over all of it, it's like, even though I went through that period of breaking in 2002, it was still a gentle nudge. You know, it wasn't one of those things where, you know, you better go to church or, you know, anything like that. It was just like a gentle nudge. It's like I felt that it was like when I had that urge to go to church, it was like I was cleaning my apartment that morning. I was vacuuming. I was in the middle of vacuuming. And it was like, all of a sudden, it was just like this still, soft voice on the inside saying church. I'm like, okay, where'd that come from? So, but I didn't mention it to anybody else. I just felt like, okay, I guess I'll go to church on Sunday. Mind you, my brother and I, we go to Charlotte. I think it was on a Thursday or Friday. We had the day off that week, leading into New Year's that year. And he asked me, because we hung out all night, and there was this event that was being promoted where we were at. And, you know, so he, on the way back from Charlotte, he asked me, we gonna go to that event tonight? I was like, well, no, I'm not going, because I feel like I need to go to church on Sunday. He didn't press me anything like that. It was like, oh, cool, okay, all right. I'm not even sure if he went or not, but I know that I was like, I'm not gonna go, because if I went and I was out all night, that was gonna be an excuse for me to not go to church. So, you know, I made sure that I didn't go out, and I made sure that when I left the house, I was going to give myself extra time so that I would be able to find my way to that church I had gone to. Like I said, I'd only gone there once, and so I wanted to make sure I didn't miss any turns or anything like that, but I was just led straight there. And like I said, when the call to surrender my life to the Lord was made, I answered the call, and, you know, the rest is history. I'm still serving in that same church today.
Cool. Oh, that's awesome. And you know, I love that, because you had that call, that urge, that the voice of God, still small voice, not an overbearing, not a yank, right, not an overpowering draw, that you could have easily said, nah.
Exactly.
Oh, we can find our excuses.
Yes. We always have. You know, that's one of the things we're really good at.
Oh, yeah.
And then Satan offered you something fun. Hey, go to this event.
Yes.
Don't worry. You'll get up in the morning. It'll be fun.
Right.
Yeah, right. You're reaching over and smashing that alarm clock.
Yep.
Yeah. And so, you know, even in that, there was this spiritual war going on that you weren't even aware of at the time.
Exactly.
Look back on it now and say, there was a battle for my soul
in
those days.
Yeah.
So, I want to get into your book and your story and everything, but what do you have to say to people that are hearing that urge, that are hearing that voice and resisting it? What do you have any good advice?
Yeah, when you when you sense something that is out of the ordinary, where it's like you wouldn't have thought it yourself, ponder that. Ponder that and and see, because if it's one of those things that is that is a positive, that could be the voice of God telling you something that you need to that you need to pay attention to, and if He's giving you a command to do it, obey it, because you don't want to ignore it, especially when, again, if it's a thought that's feeding you negative things, that's definitely a thought from the enemy. But if it's something that is encouraging, or in love, and usually it's going to be soft, but it can be stern at times too. But at the same time, if it's something for your good, pay attention to that, because that could be the voice of the Lord. And if He's giving you a clear direction to do something, do it, obey it. And you might have questions, but don't allow the questions to turn into lingering doubts or anything like that, because that can feed to the enemy, to try to cause you to disobey that voice that you are hearing.
Yep.
Excellent. I'm going to jump in the comments real quick. We've got
Hey, Dale.
Dale's with us. Blessings, everyone. Just passing through. Caught some of the show. My wife and I have the flu. Could use some prayers. Thanks. So, hey, Road Less Traveled Army. Let's get some prayers up for Dale and his wife.
And I want to shout out to my brother in Georgia. He's watching. Hey, Kurt.
Hey, Kurt. So, let's get some prayers going up for Dale and his bride, and get them healed up pretty quick. All right. So, now we got 2003, you get saved, and I guess you meet your wife at some point not long after that.
Yeah, I actually met my wife in 99. We actually worked at the same place at the time. I was trying to get started in radio at the time. I was working as a production assistant at a radio station, and she was working as a sales assistant there. We met, but we didn't really start talking until we both had left that place, and we maintained a friendship. We got engaged in 2005 and got married in 2006. So we're actually approaching 20 years of marriage coming up in July. And but like I said, prior to us starting to even date, we maintained a friendship, and we would talk and go to shows and stuff like that during that time before we actually started dating.
Okay, so then you get married, obviously, and you decide, the conversations of when do we start a family?
Mm-hmm.
What is that? So that brings us to the topic of your book. So could kind of walk us through that a little bit.
All right. We get married in 2006, and of course, we didn't want to start having a family right away. We wanted to kind of, first of all, build our relationship as a married couple and enjoy traveling and doing other things that we like to do. And plus, we wanted to build our careers as well. And also, we wanted to pay down some debts that we had, student loans and all that kind of stuff. So we wanted to go ahead and get that paid down, so that once we did start start trying to have a family, we wanted to be able to at least be in a good place financially before bringing children into the mix. So then we get to a place where we bought a house in 2008, and then 2010 we decided now is the time to try to start a family. So, we go through we start going and to the process of, trying to start a family, and, it didn't start out right away. And then, but we were like, well, we still didn't give it enough time. So we'll just continue trying. But then after about a year or so, a year, or maybe 2 years, we're like, okay, why is this not happening? And that's when we started like, should we go and get checked out, go to the doctor and see what's causing the problem? We didn't go to the doctor right away. We just said, well, we'll just continue trying and everything. And so then I think we started going into the doctor about 2014 or so. I think that's when we first started going, but there was nothing definitive that was really saying that there shouldn't be a reason why we're not conceiving. It was just one of those situations with us that it wasn't happening. So then after several years of not being able to conceive, we decided that we wanted to go and help other people that were having similar situations to ours. So we were looking into starting a support group at our church, so to help other couples that are experiencing not being able to have children. My wife had actually gone to a support group herself with women, and it helped her a little bit, but it was one of those type of support groups where the people were not saved. So of course, you're gonna hear some language in those type of situations, but it did help her a little bit. And so that's where the idea came for us to see if we could start a support group in our church. And we got the okay to do it. And unfortunately, what ended up happening with the group was, I don't feel like we got the support that we were hoping to get, because unfortunately in church, a lot of times it's one of those taboo subjects. Because you're always hearing be fruitful and multiply and this, that, and the other, and it seems like everything is geared towards families, which is good, and I get it, and I understand it, but at the same time, there's hardly ever anything that's available to couples that are going through situations like ours with infertility. And then, to be quite honest, I don't know if anybody knows how to address it. So, because sometimes when you're going through a situation like that, you feel like you're alone. And that was one of the main reasons why we wanted to do the group, right, to let other people know that they're not alone. But, you offer it, but people still don't want to take advantage of it or utilize it, because a lot of times they don't want to talk about it. Right. And that's the thing that we found out when we tried to do the group that we were doing, was that not too many people want to really talk about it. They just want to just move on and not want to deal with it. But I'm one of those people that if I'm going through something, I want to be able to help somebody else that may be going through it as well, because we didn't have anybody come alongside us as we were going through. And I wanted to be able to come alongside somebody else to encourage them as they're going through. But unfortunately, even with that desire, there was not anybody willing to come and be helped in that situation. So that was one of those things that was kind of disappointing for me. I can't really speak for my wife, but for me, that was what was disappointing to me, that there wasn't much participation with that.
Well, I think that my wife and I had to adopt because we were married 34 years before she went to be with Jesus. But we ended up adopting. And what a great joy and feeling that you could change some young person's life. I mean, she was 2.5 hours old when we got her.
Oh, wow.
But don't you find, I found a little bit of like, at least in the men, even in church or at the basketball court, at work, whatever, there was kind of like a shaming that goes on. Like, oh, your tadpoles can't swim.
Yeah.
You're less of a man. So
Yeah.
that's probably why, because if you go to a class that's called that or something,
Yeah.
now you're putting yourself under the microscope and you're saying, hey, I can't have kids. So
Right.
That me, right? Because we get, I don't know what we do as humans. We don't want to be made fun of, and we'll shy away from the actual help we need. Do you find that, like when you're talking to different men and women, or men specific? Let's go to the man side.
Yeah, I do, because a lot of times and I had a lot of those same feelings, because it was one of those things that, you feel less than because you cannot give your wife a child, and she feels the same way that she can give me a child. And so we're both feeling less than, because that's supposed to be one of the most natural things to happen, for a woman to be able to bear a child, and for a man to be able to help to get his wife pregnant. That's one of those natural things. So when you're not able to do it, then you're like, what's wrong with me? Or you feel less than, and all of that. So
I want people that are listening, seek adoption.
Yeah.
Adoption is so, man, I can start crying right now because I got a situation in my life, but I love my daughter still, and she's going to be 20 in October. But having her in my life and having her come to me, there was real quick story. She was playing and I came home from work, and my wife goes, she was just looking for you. She said, I want to see him. And she can barely talk at that age.
Yeah.
But she wanted to see, where's dad? Where's that one funny guy?
And that's amazing, because it's like you say, you have a 20-year-old and you don't even look like you have a child that old. So to God be the glory.
I'm actually 60.
Wow. I wouldn't have guessed it.
Nobody does.
I really wouldn't have guessed it. Wow.
Yeah, he's older than me, believe it or not.
Yeah.
My oldest is 30. I said, you're older than me, believe it or not.
Yep.
And my oldest is 31, but I look it, so. But, adoption can be so restricted. My oldest adopted outside of agencies. It was a kind of one of those situations where it just kind of fell in her lap, where there was a situation. But even that was so restrictive financially, trying to go through an agency. So that may not even be a good answer for so many people in our country, because I think the laws and the lawyer fees and the agency fees can really be super restrictive. Did you all look into that at some point?
Yeah, we have looked at adoption, and that was one of the reasons why right there, because of the cost. Currently, we are with an agency. We still haven't gotten a child yet through the agency that we're with. But yeah, the costs can cause people to shy away from doing the adoption route because of all the expenses that are tied to adoption. We actually even looked into doing it through fostering as well, and that didn't work out for us either. So, but I'm not discouraging people from doing any of those avenues. I'm just saying that for us, it turned out to not work out for us, but for other people, I mean, if you're in the position to be able to do it, by all means, go do it. But just because it didn't work out for us doesn't mean that it won't work out for you.
I'm pretty sure we had some help from my in-laws. I'm not rich. We weren't rich.
Yeah. and you know, when you say it didn't work out for us, from the spiritual aspect of it, it wasn't the Lord's will.
Right.
Exactly.
And it's not the Lord's will for everyone to adopt. It's not the Lord's will for everybody to foster. It's not the Lord's will for everyone to have a kid. And so there's that aspect of it. Like in Scripture, Paul talks about for the younger men to remain single if they can.
Mm.
And so, you know, what is God doing with you and your wife that you couldn't have been doing or couldn't have done or do down the road with children?
Right. And that's one of those things, because when I share the fact that we've looked at all of those avenues and have been denied so many times, that's one of those things that I believe that we had to go through that, even though it was painful for us at the time. But I believe that we had to go through that for somebody else. Because sometimes when a lot of times when you go through situations in life, and sometimes you feel like you've been defeated, it's not necessarily that you've been defeated, but it was a reason why those avenues were blocked. And there's a reason why you're going through those situations in life that you're going through, is because to share your story with somebody else. Yep. Because especially if you come out of it with your faith still intact, you can still share with somebody, and they can be encouraged by your faith, even in the midst of the supposed defeats in life. If they still see you coming out of it with joy and peace and an intact faith, they can still be encouraged by you, because you've gone through it, but you didn't allow it to defeat you. Exactly.
And it strengthened your faith.
Yes. Yep. And that's what this journey has done for me, even though at the time, as we were going through all the heartbreaking situations in our lives, we didn't feel victorious at all. We felt defeated and we felt like giving up. But at the end of the day, I mean, I'm sitting here talking to you guys, and you know, as I'm talking, I'm like getting more excited and energized, because I'm like, ooh, the joy of the Lord, that thing is real, man. The joy of the Lord being my strength, that is real. And I'm just getting more and more encouraged and excited as I'm talking.
And didn't it bring you an overall peace? Because people always just throw the cliche out, a peace that passes understanding.
Yeah.
Stop and think about that. Say that slower. A peace that passes whose understanding? Our understanding. Mm-hmm. Who do we put our faith in when we're trusting Him?
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I get a greater peace every single time I share this story. And it's like as I've been promoting the book and sharing our story, I get more peace. I get more joy. I get more fulfillment every time I share it, because knowing what I've gone through, and well, I guess I can say still going through, but still having that unwavering faith.
Yep.
That just continues to strengthen me even more. And that's why I'm glad that I was led to write the book, because I mean, I never in my wildest imagination thought I'd be writing a book about this situation that we've been going through, but I'm glad that I was led to write it, because it has actually, as I wrote the book, it has actually increased my faith even more. What my faith in God, it has strengthened even more as I've written the book. And even as I had to go back and recount some of the things that I went through, and I was like, wow, it just amazes me how God has strengthened me through this. And that's what I want to share with the audience and everybody that I've been sharing this with, because I want to bring God to the forefront in every way. Yep. And I want people to be encouraged that even though you go through things in life, God, especially if you're a believer, God is with you and he has never left you. The Bible says he'll never leave you nor forsake you. Yep. You might be going through a situation in life right now that looks like he's forsaken you, but he hasn't forsaken you. He's just basically allowing you to go through what you're going through, but he is keeping his presence with you. You just got to continue to hold on to him because he will guide you through the whole situation, and he'll bring you out of it stronger. You just got to continue to yield and submit to him and allow him to do his work in you as you're going through. And, you know, I've always heard the cliche, you can't have a testimony without a test. But that cliche is true, because you got to have a test so you'll be able to have a testimony.
Yep. Here's an example real quick. When my wife and I first got married in public, restaurants and stuff, we would see people with their kids and their kids are being bad and the parents letting them do it. Oh, we'll never do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So whatever the thing is, we'll never do that. Our kid will.
Right.
And we got a kid laughing at each other because we had our private time talking about it.
Yeah.
That's what the parents were going through. So it's really, you can't blame the people because they think they have a knowledge, but you got to have that experience. And that's what you were
yeah.
Yep.
Exactly. And sometimes that's why he allows us to go through seasons in life that are difficult and challenging and sometimes heartbreaking, just like the title of my book, going through the heartbreaking and challenging seasons of life.
Do you have your book right there? Do you have your book right there? Can you hold it
up? Yeah. Let me.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a picture of the book in our
right here.
There you go.
Unshaken, holding on to faith during the heartbreaking and challenging seasons of life. And that's why when I wrote the book and I talk about it, it basically reaffirms my faith in God, that because he is faithful, he is going to give us his presence. And even when we don't understand what's happening in our lives, we can continue to trust him and hold on to him and his promises. Because even though you may not get everything that you seek for in prayer, but he will give you everything that you need. Yeah, he might not give you everything that you want, but he'll definitely give you everything that you need. We might have wanted a child and we might still get one, whatever, who knows? But at the same time, if we don't, he'll give us his peace. He'll give us his strength. He'll give us his love, because he loves us. He loves us so much that he gave his son for us, and he allowed his son to go to the cross for our sake. So if anything, if you have him, you have everything that you need.
Hey, even the unsaved can come close to saying what you said, like the Rolling Stones.
Mm-hmm.
Don't always get what you want, but you find out you get what you need.
Exactly. Exactly.
Sorry, I had to get really spiritual there.
Yeah.
That's true. I mean, that's a truth. It's a truth.
Yep.
That it doesn't matter. It as you experience life, and you have a consciousness of, even if you're an unbeliever, you have a consciousness of a supreme being, a higher
Mhm.
power. I hate that term.
I know.
Right.
You know, as an unbeliever, you still have that consciousness of it, whether you want to admit it or not.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And so you do experience that understanding of getting, you know, people, even unbelievers will say, oh, it'll work out. It always works out in the end.
Right.
Because God
Mhm.
leads us through things, and the
Mhm.
purpose for us is to bolster our faith, to share our testimony, lead others to Christ. And the purpose for the unbeliever is that they would see God's hand, that they
Right.
would understand the working of the Holy Spirit, that they would understand the salvation that was wrought for them at the cross,
Mhm.
and they would respond to it and come to salvation. So here's one of the things that I love is that, you know, you talked about doing the support group and not really getting the traction that you were hoping for with it. But what you did do is write a book.
Yep.
So when I am in Knoxville, Tennessee, and I meet a couple that are dealing with this, or a gentleman that's dealing with this in his marriage,
Now you can.
I can't send them to North Carolina to
Right.
sit in your group, but I could say, "Oh, you got to get this book," or I could buy that book for them and say,
Mm.
"Here, man, this will help you." Because this
Right.
guy's going
Not that
through it.
anybody would ever go to Carolina. Sorry about that.
You had to throw that in there.
So you're going to reach, you know, you'll be dead and gone. That book will still be out there.
Yep.
Mm.
And so you've got a legacy that, you know, people say their kids are their legacy. You've got a legacy now in print
Mm.
that can go forth and help
Exactly.
untold people that aren't even born yet
Wow.
that will struggle with this stuff. And that to me is just like mind blowing when you think about it.
And your book might end up being 25 cents at some thrift store one day, and somebody picks it up for that, and then they get saved.
Yeah.
So
Hey, who knows how God will work, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, there was a band, Liberty and Justice, and they did a song called "The Bargain Bin," and it was about he saw his CD in a bargain bin at a store one time,
Yeah.
and he was like, you know what? That's cool because it's going to get in somebody's hands,
Yep.
even if
Mm.
it's in the bargain bin.
I
So,
wouldn't have an ego of that at all. I'd be like, if I saw somebody even picking it up to buy it, and I wouldn't care.
yeah, if I saw my record in the record store, I'd be jumping up and down. I don't care if it's in a bargain bin or not.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So I mean, God is amazing. So I mean, we don't know how He'll move, but He'll move in amazing, mighty ways. So yeah, I trust God through this whole process, and I'm grateful that He gave me this book, and yeah, I'm grateful for the lives that will be touched through it. So all glory to God. Thank God for everything.
Yeah. So you mentioned something I think I caught in the beginning is that you guys both got medically tested.
Yeah, we did actually. And like I said, there was never anything definitive that said that we shouldn't be able to, but for whatever reason, it just had never happened. So, I mean, who knows? I mean, that's one of those things that that you know he might be setting us up for something down the road. Who knows? But like I said, we were never given anything definitive as to why we weren't able to conceive. It's just one of those situations that it just had never been able to happen.
Huh.
So is that more frustrating in the or more like in the beginning of that when you first got tested and found out that you guys were both healthy? Was it more frustrating to you at that point?
Yeah,
than if
because
one of
you
would've
would
got
kind of
more-
hope that you would have some kind of answer as to why.
Like we did.
But yeah,
Yeah. But now you're guessing, and so you don't. Man, that's
right.
got faith more, right?
Exactly. So it's like, well, so we think that, well, you know, if we continue trying, it'll happen eventually. But, you know, was it 2010 was when we first started. Now it's 2016, 16 years later. And we still didn't have any success in conceiving. And we still don't have any kind of definitive answer as to why it didn't happen. So, okay.
Hey, this is road less traveled, so we can say stuff about this topic. So keep trying.
Yeah.
That's the fun part, right?
Hey, it's always fun.
So I like to talk about it, you know.
Did your wife participate in the writing of the book in any way? Did she contribute or like see parts in there and was like, don't put that in there, or maybe put this in? And was there any of that?
You know, when I told her the idea that I may do a book about this, originally the idea was to have us both share in the process of writing this book, but we kind of felt like when we prayed about it, we kind of felt like it would be best for me to tell it. So that's what ended up happening was that I ended up being the main person. She does have a part towards the end of the book where she shares some things at the end, but for the most part, the story itself was basically from my point of view. She did read over it as I completed a chapter. She was essentially my first proofreader. I had somebody else proofread it as well, and but for the most part, I ended up being the main writer.
Now, don't forget, if you write another book, my cat's always ready to do the editing.
All right.
That's an inside joke from before our show started, everybody.
So, you know, what we are so used to especially in Christian media, you know, if this was one of those Christian films that we see out there, you'd be coming on talking about, we went through this struggle and we prayed and then the Lord blessed us and we have children now. And that's what I think believers expect, because that's the lie that we're told, that come to Jesus and everything will go your way. And so can you talk to that we don't always get, and we talked about, you don't always get what you want, but you get what you want.
Right.
Can we talk to that aspect of it, that it's a very real possibility that, you know, the biological clock will at some point click, and and that's, I'm sure that's something that you guys have talked through and prayed through and maybe dealt with in your book.
Yeah, you know, one of the movies that we like is Facing the Giants.
Yeah, great movie.
I love that movie, and in that movie, the coach, he and his wife had trouble having children, but of course, towards the end of the movie, they have a child, and then as the movie closes, they're expecting another one. So, you know, we kind of held on to that as well after watching that movie. It's like, well, you know, we eventually that's going to happen, but at the same, but as the days turned into months and the months turned into years and the years turn into decades, we're facing the real possibility that it may not ever happen. So unfortunately, we have been conditioned that you know, you continue to pray and believe it's going to happen. Well, I'd be thrilled if it does, but if it doesn't, I'm still going to hold on to my faith. Because at the end of the day, my faith isn't all about having a child in the first place anyway.
Correct.
My faith is in the one that saved me. And that's the main thing right there. And that's what I want to also encourage people too, that even if you don't get that thing that you've been hoping and praying for, make sure that the main thing is Jesus, because he's the one who gave his life for you in the first place. Your faith wasn't all about the thing that you've been hoping to receive in life. Your faith was basically the salvation that was given to you through the cross of Jesus.
Yeah, and I think that's where a lot of believers, or Bryan, you always talk about the parable of the sower.
Yep.
With the different soils, and you've got the Christians that believe right away, and then they fall out. And it's why? It's because they're looking around. They're looking at their circumstances. They're looking at the things that they want, the things that they think they deserve.
Yeah.
And they're not focused on the Lord, and they're not focused on what God's plan is for their life.
Right.
And, here it is that you guys went through this time. And I go back to what I said earlier about writing a book. You've got a book that's out there forever that's going to help countless people that wouldn't exist if you would have went to church and they had a prayer meeting and everybody laid hands on you, and then all of a sudden you had a baby. Great happens. It does happen for people, but it doesn't happen for everybody.
Right.
You just have to be willing to follow God no matter what, because I try not to base my faith on what God can give me or do for me. Right.
Right.
Yeah,
one of my favorite people in the Bible is the Apostle Paul. And, when I first became a believer, I was so drawn to the fact that the Apostle Paul, he endured a lot in his walk with Christ. I mean, after his conversion, and he started going into ministry and stuff. I mean, you read through his letters, especially where he talks about how he was basically shipwrecked and left for dead and all of that. And I was like, yeah, that's the kind of faith I want right there. It was like, well, be careful what you ask for, because you might get it. And as I was going through, as we were going through our struggle with infertility, I never equated what I was going through with the same thing that Paul was going through, because I'm wanting to go to be a missionary somewhere and all of that, and I learned how to be a base, and I know how to abound and all that kind of stuff. But as I'm going through this, I'm like, going through this struggle, I didn't have that same kind of faith, or at least I didn't think so at the time. But as I come to know that even through all of this, God has been with me, it's like, I guess I need to be more careful what I say, because I just might get it. So, but at the end of the day, I'm grateful to God for what he has put in me. I'm grateful for what he has given me to share. And I'm grateful to be able to come on the different podcasts and share our story because of this book, the door being open because of this book. And through it all, I just want people to be encouraged to know that whatever you may be going through in life, know that God is with you through it all. He hasn't left you. He hasn't abandoned you. He isn't punishing you or anything like that. Just know that God has plans for you through what you're going through, as if you endure it and allow it to shake your faith.
Yeah, 100%.
Like
I want to give a shout out to Ellie. She introduced us to you and let us be aware. How did you get involved with her and her publishing and all that?
I actually met her at church. She's attending the church that we're at right now, and she held a writer's workshop last year, and that's where I actually got prompted to think about writing a story about our situation. Was at that workshop. She held a workshop, and I got in touch with her, and I said, I think I'm gonna go ahead and do this story, this book. And of course, I shared with her what I wanted for the cover, and she ran with it and did a fantastic job with the cover. But like I said, she's phenomenal. She has been a godsend through this whole process. Getting it published and everything, and put me in contact with the different people that I've been discussing the book with, and I'm just, like I said, she's a godsend.
Well, she's been a blessing to us because you're our third author from her stable, and everyone's been a home run. So
awesome.
Keep them coming.
So, how do we get in touch? If somebody wants to connect with you, do you and your wife still do? Do you still have that ministry at church, or is that something that's been put on hold?
That's been put on hold, but who knows what God may do. He might prompt us to start it up again. Who knows? Mm-hmm. But right now it is on hold. But I am on Facebook. I have a page dedicated to my work, which is Percy White Jr. on Facebook. I'm also on Instagram, and I'm on Instagram at Brother P_73, so you can connect with me there as well on Instagram.
And have you guys considered doing like any like videos together, or since you're on Instagram, or maybe
I'm trying to nudge her to do some. She doesn't like getting on camera, so be in prayer with me.
It's really nice when the spouse joins in ministry, because then you grow together closer to God too, and each other.
Yeah. Yeah, but my wife, she's definitely a godsend as well. She even though she doesn't like to be in the forefront, she's a wonderful help to me. Trust me.
Right.
Well, I can imagine, and for her to be on board with you writing a book about something so personal.
Mm-hmm.
So like Bryan mentioned earlier, that there's this stigma that gets put on us.
Yep.
For certain things because we don't look like everybody else, or
right.
And our family structure looks a little different than what traditional church ideal should be for a.
Technically, I've been told by pastors when I was growing up, a family consists of a husband and wife. Kids are an addition to the family. So
yeah, and and this is just a pet peeve of mine when it comes to church. When you go on, especially not so much Father's Day, but on Mother's Day, such a big noise is made about Mother's Day. And I know for a fact there's women that skip church that week because it's just too painful for them.
Yeah, my wife was one of those a couple of years where she didn't want to be in church on Mother's Day because, there's such a... And that's one of the things that I share too in the book, because sometimes it's like when you don't celebrate, and you should celebrate different people with different things in life. But at the same time, there's also those that are struggling silently because of the things that we tend to celebrate. And I know that there's been a few. Unfortunately, with me, I'm a media director at my church. So I'm expected to be there every Sunday to be able to stream the services and stuff. And I oversee the camera people and all that. But, there have been times where it was tough because, we do baby dedications, and I'm not against that or anything like that. But, there have been months where, babies are being dedicated, and I'm still in the struggle, and I'm wondering, when is it going to be my turn to be up there with my baby being dedicated in front of the congregation and all of that? And I know if it was difficult for me, I know it was difficult for my wife. And like I said, Mother's Day, there has been times where it was definitely tough for her, and to the point where she didn't want to be there.
Well, because you feel like you're in the spotlight, even if nobody's looking at you.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I've even experienced on Father's Day where, you know, people, you know, they'll say Happy Father's Day to everybody. And so they come to me and say Happy Father's Day. And then I can feel them pulling back. It's like, oh, but they don't know what to say.
You have a dad, so just say thank you and smile.
Right. You know, so it's like, yeah, you know, it's one of those situations where it's always been an awkward time.
Yep.
But I'm glad that I'm at a place now where I may not be 100% healed, but I can say that I'm probably 85 to 90% healed. So it doesn't sting as much. So, you know, like I said, it's wonderful that we celebrate the mothers on Mother's Day and the fathers on Father's Day. But sometimes I think that when we do that, we tend to forget about those that are still struggling because they're not being able to experience that for themselves.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. Well, we have hit the end of our hour, our hour on the internet. We are always amazed that we've come to the end as quickly as we do.
Because you think we have a whole hour, and then at the end we're like, man, we only had an hour.
Yeah, we only had an hour. And so, are you? I'm going to put you on the spot real quick. Are you available to men if they looked you up on Facebook and reached out to you and were like, "Hey, man, I'm struggling with this. Can you talk to me, pray for me, whatever?"
Yeah, sure. Yeah, no problem. I'll be glad to.
Excellent. Okay. Well, hey, I want to thank everybody. Thanks for the comments. We didn't get to everybody. We got comments. Ray Amy was with us tonight. Thanks, Ray. Good to see you, brother. Robbie Parton, Chrissy Honor. Thank you guys for chiming in and participating. Love you, Chris. It's my wife. But usually there's nights where the comment section is just my family. So tonight we had a good spread of people. But I want to thank everybody for being with us tonight. Thank you, Percy, for joining us.
Hang on after so we can pray for you.
All right, appreciate it.
And sticking around with us tonight. It's a tough topic, man.
It is.
Both Bryan and I know. And so just bless you for what you and your wife are doing and touching other lives. Bryan, close us out, man.
Yeah, like usual, and everybody that watches our show, make sure you're reading your Bible every day. If you haven't, stop making excuses, because even if you're tired, from my experience, I've had some exhausting days. I'm like, I won't read. And I stop myself right there and I get right to my Bible, open it up, pray real quick, read and go. And then sometimes you might not feel like you got anything from it. But then, like I said, a week later, you're witnessing to somebody and those very words of God come out your mouth. And you're like, how did that happen? So just get your mind saturated with the word of God and you can't lose.
Excellent. All right. Well, thank you. Thanks to everybody that was with us. And